Hi! Today I thought I would take you on a little tour of my closet. Now technically this isn't a closet, it's a full-blown room that I use as a closet. I know it's a lot, but we have the spare room. We don't have children, we don't have house guests. I mean, that's what hotels are for. Boundaries, people, they're a beautiful thing. So we had this spare room that I was basically just piling with stuff, and so then I decided a couple of years ago to organize all my stuff and just make it into a closet. So that's what I thought I would take you on a tour of. And anything that I mention organizational wise in this video, I will put in a link down below in case you're interested. All right, so let's go on a little tour of my closet space. Oh, I have a thing for pegboard. I have pegboard in at least 3 rooms of this house. And then I even had pegboard in my classroom. I think it's because I just love to see all of my options whenever it comes to creating. And for me, getting dressed in the morning is like a form of creating. I don't always have time, like a lot of us, to sit down and create, but I do have to get dressed before I venture outside. I mean, I think it's like the law or something. So for me, it's like a creative outlet. So I like to see what I have on hand for my options. I've put all of my hats, sometimes I got that dirty hair and I want to hide it, so that's where hats come in really handy. I have them all hanging up, and I've got like a yardstick here so that I could easily take my hats down. Underneath that is all of this pegboard where I keep a lot of my bracelets, which not even a bracelet wearer, but I do like to collect bracelets. What you're going to find in this tour is I'm a little bit of a collector. A lot of necklaces, headbands, and the like are all right here. It's not really a tour unless we get to see like some close-ups, right? So I was just in San Antonio and I bought this necklace from a local artist there. I like fuzzy balls and I cannot lie. So I made these wet felted and needle felted balls or spheres, as we middle school teachers know to say, and put it on a necklace. And then I promptly realized that I'm like allergic to wool, so I'll still wear it, but I will be itching my neck like a dog wearing a collar. This one was made for my book, Clay Lab for Kids, where I share how to make a bunch of different little pieces of food from polymer clay. Necklace made from old spools, more painted beads, and then a Matisse kind of themed necklace. When I organize my jewelry like this, I try to make it so there are like similar pieces together. So some of the wool pieces are hung together. Anything that's hand painted in a similar color I tried to stick together. That way I can get a quick visual of anything that I might want to wear. Next to the pegboard, I have some vintage frames. I found these vintage frames at the thrift store. I just spray painted them white several years ago, and then I backed them with, I think I just backed it with like corrugated cardboard and covered the cardboard with a piece of fabric. And then this way I can put all of my pins in a frame and it kind of looks nice. You have to see the back. It's a real crack up with all the tape. I mean, ain't nobody gonna look at the back unless, I show it off on YouTube, right? So there you have it. That's how glamorous that looks. So I have one of these frames that's filled with vintage pins. And then I have one full of another collection of pins. Am I ever going to be able to do this? And then I have another pegboard, a little baby pegboard that I spray painted yellow, and that has just, a couple of watches on it. So just a little close-up of some of those pins. A lot of those are from Disney. Then these vintage ones are oftentimes from estate sales or vintage shops. It's rare that I find really good vintage at the thrift store anymore, but you never know. It's worth a shot of always going. This is by a company out of Australia called Wilder. They make amazing jewelry. I love them. And I grew up an 80s kid, never had a swatch, always wanted one, was so jealous of the kids who wore wrists of them. So now I'm just like living out my 80s childhood. And then I've got some headbands. This one is amazing, made by an art teacher, and it's made out of used paintbrushes. So it's epic. Another art teacher created this one, which is super fun, a little Starry Night ear band. And then this one was made by me. So right here behind me is a vanity where I sit and get ready in the mornings. And I also have one of these carts in here as well. This guy can hold so much stuff. I love this cart so much that I actually have 2. I have one in like my crafting area as well. On top, I keep all of, really nicely organized, do you like that? I keep all of my lotions and junk that I put in my hair. One side holds fanny packs. It has a lot of hooks, so that's perfect. I've got headbands on that pegboard there, and look at my fanny pack collection. And I love these because I use them all the time. And I'm not one to wear it the new hipster way, which is across your body. No, I still wear it around my waist because I'm old school. So that's there. And then this is a little closer look of my vanity. And look at that cloudy mirror. Yeah, it's no wonder my eye makeup is always a little bit wonky. If you're curious, speaking of eye makeup and stuff, about all the beauty products that I use, because I know that you are, I will put a link of that down below. So this is just another look at the hot mess that is my vanity. I just upgraded from my busted chair and got this cute little chair that's also a storage space. So yeah. When I decided to make this room into a closet, I used the same kind of wire shelves that I shared in my sewing room video. I love these wire shelves because they're inexpensive, and then I can adjust them any way I see fit. And at the time that I bought them, I didn't even know that they came with contraptions for you to use them as a closet. I thought I was being all innovative and stuff. And so that's why when I share with you a close-up, you'll see that the rod for hanging my clothes is just a really big dowel rod connected with cable tie. It's classy stuff, but you can actually buy for realsies rods to use for hanging your clothes. So I have, I guess, 3 sections to this wall of clothing, and one section I decided to put all the clothes that I made myself right here. Now this isn't all of them. This is kind of like the most frequently worn, like the greatest hits I put all right here. I thought I would share with you a little closer peek of this part of my closet. So I've been sewing clothes for quite some time, and over time what I noticed was that I always just ended up using the same pattern. I would try a couple different patterns. Oh, there's the dress, nailed it. But time and time again, I just ended up liking the same dress. So what you'll notice is they all have a fitted bodice, and a lot of them have, that's actually one of the more older style dresses that I use, one that I never went back to using again. But I do like that Mo Willems fabric. Anyway, I'm interrupting myself. I'm so excited. Check these out. That's the one pattern that I use time and time again. Those are both made with shower curtains. But that band at the waist I really like, and either a gathered skirt or a flared skirt. This is fabric that had empty frames on it that I laid on the floor and gave my students fabric markers, and they drew self-portraits on. I like to wear it to art museums because then I can show my students that they've had artwork in an art museum. And then this fabric came from IKEA. It was like a large coloring sheet. Again, I just laid the fabric out on the ground, gave the kids fabric markers, let them color it, and then I created it into a dress. That one, they even voted on what kind of dress pattern I was going to use to make the dress, which was a lot of fun. Oftentimes, I make dresses to wear to the art show. We had a superhero themed show, so that was the dress I made. And then this one was dress made from fabric that I had created on spoon flower. All of that is works of art by my students that I took photos of and that had printed on fabric before creating it into a dress. I created these 2 applique dresses. I was going to make a whole series of artists. I got about that far, but they're still really fun to wear. If you have any questions about sewing or getting started on a stitching journey, you might want to check out my sewing room tour. But look, y'all, sewing, if I can do it, anybody can do it. There's no rocket science to it, and patterns these days, they will easily walk you through, and they oftentimes have a phone number on them. So if you get stuck, you can give them a shout. So I basically just hang everything up. I don't know if you went on my sewing room tour, but I have all my fabric hanging up. And for me, it helps to have all of my belts hanging up. These guys can take up a lot of space. So having them all on one belt hanger has really helped me. So that's where I keep these guys on hand. Something else that I'd love to have on a hanger are my scarves. I mean, this is like a scarf keeper. I do love to be able to see my options sometimes. So that's what this bad boy is. And I loved having this so much and thought it was super helpful that I decided to start keeping my tights on one of these also. I got a couple of more of these scarf holders to keep all of my different tights and have them hung up this way. And again, that way when I'm reaching and grabbing a dress and a belt, I can then quickly see all of my tights options. So this, to give you the lay of the land, this is all of the dresses that I've made. And the middle section, I have put my skirts. Under my skirts, I have more bins that have clothing from other seasons. But this right here, these are my skirts. A lot of my skirts are big and full because I love that fit and flare look. A lot of them are made to be worn with a crinoline underneath to kind of poof them out a bit. A lot of them are vintage, usually thrifted. And then I have a lot of new ones as well as some that I've made. So I'll share those with you. Check out this new skirt. I love this skirt because it has like a vintage feel to it, but of course it's Jaws. These also have a similar style. The top of that skirt is called a gather because if you see it, the fabric, like this one really, looks kind of bunched up. That gives you a whole bunch of fabric to work with. So those make it perfect to wear a crinoline underneath, a crinoline or a petticoat, whatever you want to call it. I love the fabric of these skirts. None of these are vintage. These are all new. This is one made by me. It's a way of making a skirt called applique. And then this is a 1950s skirt. These next couple of ones I'm going to show you are all from the 50s. If you like the way that this looks, this is a hand-painted tourist skirt from Mexico from the 50s. Then you could Google search 1950s novelty print skirts, and you're going to find some really amazing designs. For me, it's the print on the fabric that really does it. I love this one, a woman getting her portrait made in the streets of Paris. I just think that's phenomenal. The problem is that these skirts from the 1950s can be a little bit pricey. So keep your eyes peeled. Be on the lookout. Look for vintage stores in your town. Oftentimes, those prices will be better. This is a skirt I made from a shower curtain, and then there's an 80s artsy skirt on the back. And then this is one that my students, I bought a drop cloth from Walmart and my students splatter painted paint all over. And then I made it into a skirt to wear for an art show. This is one of my favorite vintage skirts that had applique on it. And then I made that one. I was inspired by the palette one from the 70s. That one is also a fun one, probably from the 60s or 70s, probably 70s. And then this is one that I made another applique, and then I needle felted the crayon on top of it. I recently discovered a new way to keep my crinolines. I wear a crinoline or a petticoat or whatever you want to call them nearly every day. Anytime I wear a poofy skirt, I have a crinoline underneath. What I used to do is hang them up. Well, as you can imagine, these guys take up a lot of space in a closet. So now, honestly, I just keep all of my crinolines in a hamper right near where I get dressed. This is like the clothing I haven't made, right? So a lot of this is vintage clothing or newer clothing, and it is packed in right now because most of this is kind of wintertime clothing, longer sleeved, darker colors, more heavier stuff. So I definitely need to go through, take this stuff out, fold it up, put it in one of my bins, and get out all of my summertime clothes. I'm just not quite ready to do it yet. It's still kind of chilly outside. So this side of my closet's like a mash up of 1950s and 60s vintage dresses and then newer purchase clothing. Basically anything that I didn't make. This one is like a newer dress, so they're all kind of mixed up. This next one is by Katie Cortman, who is a designer that I love to follow on Instagram, a contestant on Project Runway. Look at that collar, amazing. And this one I just found the other day at the thrift store. So you really never know. You could get lucky, but it's like one of those things where you have to keep going back. And sometimes, even if it looks kind of strange on the hanger or you're not quite sure, man, try it on because you just never know. And if all else fails, you can always accessorize, like throw a belt on it, like something like that. I would definitely put a belt on. If you want to make sure that it's an older dress, always check the label. If there is no label, then that probably means it was homemade, which is even better because, you know, folks aren't really making clothes as much anymore. So if it doesn't have one, speaking of homemade, I just interrupted myself because I got excited. That's the first dress that I ever made. And so it's in the wrong section of my closet. And then that's a designer, another designer that I follow on Instagram. So yeah, this side of the closet, pretty soon I'm going to take all those darker colors out, anything warmer and heavier, and swap it out for summertime. Oh, this is an early dress that I made too from my Star Wars sheets, the sheets that I had on my bed when I was a kid. So this is the view of the whole closet. And if you watch me do my what I wear videos on social media, then this is kind of like the view that you see. And I'm going to talk about those bags up top in just a moment. And in just a second, you're going to see down below all of my bins for different seasons of clothing. I have a big bin of Christmas clothes, and there it is right there in the middle. And then Halloween, summer, all of that kind of stuff. And I like to keep them in clear bins so I can tell which one is which. Now, I'm not really really much of a sunglasses wearer. I mean, I wear them, but I'm not really picky because I lose them so frequently. So I found that if I just put them by draping one of the legs over the top of that wire shelving, that's like the perfect place for me to keep my shades. I like to keep my earrings and these guys because I can basically just do exactly what I'm doing right now. Just kind of lay them all out and see what I have. And then I did actually just yesterday kind of reorganize them by color and kind of like my earring collection is a collection of earrings that I've made, that other people have made. I'm going to show you the ones that I've made recently. These are hand stitched out of felt. I really like making these because it's like a small craft that I can take with me wherever I go. And they're also super duper lightweight. If you want to learn how I make those, I've got several YouTube videos on that. And then a lot of these were created by other artists. There's some great polymer clay earring artists to follow online, and I love buying their earrings. I didn't start wearing earrings until just like a couple of years ago. I'd had my ears pierced, but I'd always had like a reaction. And then I just kind of muscled my way through the reaction because I wanted to wear all these cute earrings so much. And so now, unless earrings are really heavy, they don't bother me at all. And I really enjoy collecting them and wearing them. And again, it's one of those things that I keep hung up. That way, when I'm getting dressed in the morning, I can do exactly what you see I'm doing here. Just pull them all out, take a look, see what works, and put some earrings on. Probably the thing I get asked about the most are these bags that I have on my top shelf. So these are Enid Collins bags. She was a bag designer in the mid to late 1960s out of Texas. And she started by creating these, I guess you could call them cigar box bags because maybe they started out as that kind of size. Her husband would make the boxes and then she would probably initially painted them, but then these are kind of silk screened on here and then added a lot of the jewels on here that you see. Eventually, over time, she switched from these box or wooden box bags to the bucket bags that you see right back there that are more fabric based. I love all of her designs. I just think that they're so fun. You can find Enid Collins bags on Etsy and eBay, but you're going to pay a pretty penny. So look for them the next time you go into an antique shop or a vintage clothing store. If you really want to make sure you're getting one of her bags, because there was some popularity when hers came out and there were some copycat artists who followed her designs, look for the EC or the Collins of Texas. It's always going to be written on the front. In fact, if you look closely, you'll see there's an EC with a copyright symbol on several of these bags. That's how you know it's one of hers. I should have probably opened one for you because there's a beautiful little mirror on the inside of each of these, and she's signed it too. They're just precious. Oftentimes they're missing jewels, but they're still fabulous. Under my window here, I have more of these shelves. This is also like the cat's place to hang out. I could say I don't have a dresser, but this is kind of my dresser. I have my sports bras and t-shirts and like leggings and exercise clothes over here. I also have a lot of my shoes. Just like my clothes, I kind of rotate my shoes out also because, you know, your girl has a lot of shoes too, okay? So I need to right now, I kind of have a mashup right now because I have my boots from the winter and then I'm also slowly getting a couple of my sandals out. But you know what? I've become less and less of a shoe horse because I just get the same pair of shoes that I always want to wear all day long. That right there on the left, when I travel, I just grab whatever toiletry bag is already packed. I decided to go ahead and just keep it packed. I have all those travel sizes in there, so that's really handy too. And then this is the last wire section of clothing. These are all of my tops. So underneath that is more, you know, smaller personal getting dressed kind of items. So that's that. And then a little closer look at my tops. These are mostly brand new. I don't have a lot of vintage tops, but I have some fun designed ones. That one's a Big Bud Press top that I really love. Now that one is a vintage Mondrian. And then that one is really fun. It looks very pop art-ish. Share all of it. But this is the actual closet that's in this room, which I don't know who designed it, but it's unusable. How am I supposed to get I can't even get anything out of there. So that's why I had to use the room. Really, it's the closet's fault. So these are sweaters, clearly. And then over here, I have a bunch of jackets. And then right down there are jumpers, adult onesies, shall we say. And then over here is a purse hanger. I don't even know if I can lift it up. it's 1,000 pounds. But here's where I have, a lot of bags. So just a couple of funsies, onesies. One that I painted most recently. That's a lot of fun to wear. You know what's really fun is when you have to go to the restroom and you're wearing a funsy onesie. And maybe you're a teacher, so you have like 3 minutes. That's so much fun. So that's where I keep these guys. Just a couple of my favorite jackets. I think Keith Haring is pretty much my favorite artist. So whenever I can find, I mean, look, there's the bathrobe I always wear. Whenever I can find something of his, I always grab it. These jackets are both made by artists. That one that was tie-dye is by Black Sheep Clothing. And then in my sweaters section, I have the sweaters that I needle felted. So these are all sweaters that I've made, needle felted my cat Asha, and a fox stole. And so that's what those sweaters are right over there. So this little closet is pretty much jam-packed: jackets, jumpers, purses, and sweaters. Let's take a closer look at this purse contraption thing. It holds all of my purses. And again, the link is down below. I absolutely love it. And these purses, it's one of those things where you buy cute purses and then you end up using the same ding dong purse like all the time. Well, that's pretty much me. But I do love having the options. Thanks, guys, for taking a tour with me. I know it was a lot, and I apologize, but I'm sure there's something that I missed. So if there's any questions that you have, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'll try my very best to answer them. If you're wanting to start dressing unusually or collecting some things, then I encourage you to hit that thrift store, shop local artists, and just see what's out there, because there's a ton of cool stuff. And then if you like it, you should wear it. Doesn't matter if it's in style, if anybody else is wearing it. Don't even listen to what anybody else says. If you like it, you should wear it. All right, guys, have a good one. Talk to you soon.